Hello, everyone. We are live, and hi, Giedrė. Very nice having you today with me.
Hi, Joanna.
We are almost done with the year. How is everybody feeling? Those who are jumping in this live today, maybe comment a little bit where you're jumping in. What are your holidays plans? We were just discussing a little bit. Giedrė here, I've just learned she's a superwoman, so we'll share a little bit more of that. Today we're having a session very close, I would say, to what does it mean to actually maybe do some very heavy reflection for the end of the year, both on a personal level for everybody. What did we use our energy on? What consumes? What gives us energy? How are we at our best? But also from an HR professionals and industry that we hope to represent the best possible. What do we do for the employee experience to be one of safety, to be one of trust, to be one of confidence? And the topic today is very much around psychological safety. Giedrė here has been speaking and being very active on the topic. So I just wanted to kind of have this conversation together. We can take questions. We can see the comments as you put them in real time. So feel free to do so, but be mindful. These are very, very short sessions, fair dialogues, 30 minutes, blitz every 2 weeks. Giedrė, how are you today? Because I know I'm also picking you in a very busy time, so I appreciate you giving us this half an hour. How are things for you today?
I'm really good wrapping up the year, really, because it's December already. So we've been, our company has been growing a lot throughout this year and the next year. So it's been quite busy.
Tell us a little bit more about your work as a country HR director and Affidea as well. I find it a very interesting business, and we don't have many times people like you in this sector. So, yeah, maybe we can take 30 seconds, a minute to just give a bit of an overview there as well for those
Yeah,
listening.
yeah. So I'm the whole my whole life I've been in healthcare as an HR. Previously, I worked in another healthcare company. So Affidea is the second largest healthcare provider in Lithuania, and I've been here for 9 years already. And it seems like we were purely diagnostic business before,
Mhm.
but we have been growing immensely in those last 9 or 10 years. Now we became outpatient clinics with also laboratories, day surgery, everything that you can expect under one roof. And we have more than 20 centers across Lithuania. We have 1,400 employees, and I've been enjoying being HR of such a company.
Very, very interesting. You work in an environment where every decision almost matters for patient safety. And I can imagine that is a very different type of accountability or responsibility that we feel. So before we go into the tools or the frameworks that we in general like to talk about when we think about people experience and especially well-being, I would love to start something a little bit more human. When you think about psychological safety in your organization, in the context that you are, what is a moment that you think stayed with you and made you really realize how important it is to have this psychological safety at a high level, maybe?
Yeah. So the concept might seem soft, right?
Yeah.
Because psychological safety, everyone thinks that it's because psychology equals HR equals we don't know about it, so we don't talk about it. But I think that this is really a business strategy, not a well-being initiative. Just to say, so, we've been growing a lot throughout the years, and what I experienced is that psychological safety is important, especially in the times of transformation. So, our company was going under extreme transformation from becoming one of the largest healthcare providers in the country. So, and what I saw is that our growth somewhat came within our company.
Mhm.
For example, our center managers, who in many organizations are seen as operational roles, were generating strategic ideas and that shaped our expansion. And they did this because they had ideas and felt safe about sharing their ideas. No judgment, no punishment, all ideas welcome. So, yeah, so when I think about psychological safety, I remember one of the stream study from developmental psychology,
Mm-hmm.
where kids in the 70s, it was done in the 70s, with kids from 3 to 5 years old, they were given blocks and bricks just to build something,
Mm-hmm.
uh, simple materials. And one of the groups was heavily criticized, like, uh, no, not like that, that's wrong. And the other group was constantly praised. Try it, that's interesting, keep going. So what after this experiment, the result was that children who were criticized,
Mm-hmm.
they stopped experimenting, stopped contributing, they did very little.
Yeah.
But kids who were praised a lot, they tried complex combinations, they could
Mm.
contribute a lot. So this really reminds me of our organizations today. We are adults, but we are still building ideas, processes,
Mhm.
and other things. So psychological safety is really important in understanding that this is the key of, of
Of innovation in a way, right?
innovation as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
innovation, ideas,
Yeah.
and all engagement.
And I mean, I think we've all seen it. Hopefully, also the people on the call, especially when you're like in a trust environment with your own team or with your cluster of best friends at work, right? We all develop stronger relationship with some people versus others, and that is a little bit of a pocket that can be sustaining you and nurturing you to say this is a safe space, this is where I can express my ideas, this is where I can challenge ideas, right? And I can bring my whole self to work, but I can also be recognized or receive feedback that is critically constructive in a way, and is not just to put me down, as you were giving the example with the studies. But I think the big challenge, especially as you're
Mhm.
saying, you are growing a lot, you have very distributed centers, and that means we somehow need to find a way to at least replicate to a certain extent that psychological safety that is a little bit easier in small teams and push it throughout the organization. Is there anything that you
Yeah.
think helped you in terms of communication, engagement, transparency, anything, any practice that you think helped you more to move from this isolated, let's say, team specific situations to more at scale psychological safety?
So when our company started transforming, when we started this whole
Yeah.
journey of growth, and we were 10 times smaller before than we are today. And at that time, trust wasn't something that you felt
Hmm.
everywhere. We
Yeah.
had fragmented centers, everybody with, different rules, policies,
Mhm.
procedures, and opinions. So it appeared, maybe psychological safety and trust appeared in small moments, like
Mhm.
one manager sharing bold idea, another raising a concern, but it was it wasn't consistent yet.
Mhm.
And we really noticed this during our acquisitions, because this is the way we grow, not only grow organically by building our own centers and
Yeah.
clinics, but also by acquiring other
Mm.
medical clinics, medical chains, and clinics.
Mhm.
So we saw the same thing there. People came from cultures where trust was low,
Mm.
and they were cautious, careful with their words, hesitant to speak up. They had ideas, of course, they did, but in their previous company, it was risky to speak up. So
Mm.
watching those teams slowly relax into our own culture was
Mhm.
one of the most rewarding parts for me. I could see it happen in practice. People would test the waters, as
Yeah.
we say, share suggestion, wait for the reaction, and then they realize that nothing bad happened.
Mm-hmm,
they
mm-hmm,
actually
mm-hmm.
they actually listen.
Yeah.
So from there, confidence grows, I think. And what helped the whole company, old one and the new one, was
Mm-hmm.
how we treated ideas. Whenever somebody shares an idea,
Mm-hmm.
so there is no judgment. We
Yeah.
make sure that they feel acknowledged, even if we cannot act on the idea right away.
Yeah. And it's very interesting. I actually didn't even think much about that because it's hard enough when you are growing organically, but I feel it's times
Yes.
100 hard when it's about mergers and acquisitions. There is so much anxiety that comes with that process, who stays, who
Yeah.
goes. So everybody's really questioning the whole the whole situation. And personally, I've seen very few mergers and acquisitions that were smooth. Probably none, to be honest. I
No,
don't know about
there
yours.
are no such thing. And I think, this transition, it takes 2, 3, sometimes 4 years to change
Yeah.
the mentality, to
Yeah.
change the habits. So it's not quick. It's not, yeah, you need to stay in the business long enough to just
Mhm.
really say for sure that it already happened. They are trusting us.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
give people the time to, as you say,
Yeah.
validate somehow the I was like, okay, you're telling me this is an inclusive, a safe environment, but I need to see it for myself at the end of the day, right? And it
Yeah.
needs to repeat
Exactly.
itself. Yes.
Exactly.
I'm very curious because yesterday I was having a session with one of our very, very nice clients from France, and one of their leaders who is actually in Poland. He was very adamant about the fact that me as a leader, as a GM for that particular organization, I participate as much as I can, and then my immediate leaders as well in the onboarding sessions in the first week of start of people, and really kind of one exemplify some of these psychological safety recognition values that really matter personally and at scale. And this is a global organization, and you can definitely see even in their communication online, like how people from this specific country communicate and praise their environment, and publish, let's say, so the
Yeah.
moments that they are proud and all this. And I really connected that moment where leadership really shows up and doesn't speak just about performance and efficiencies and market share and numbers, but speaks about their values and the recognition that he expects everybody to give, and the commitment that he will actually give to that particular value. Do you see any particular ways in which you're helping your senior leaders? Because it can't be just the HR department that deals with
No.
this, right?
Yeah, I
And
think
not
on
many
you
leaders.
touched,
Yeah.
yeah, you touched a very good ground. An example is excellent because I think, when the way I say it, I usually say it gently but directly. Leaders often think they know everything and they know best. And
Mhm.
in many ways they do, yes. And that's why we pay them for but their job is to think, to decide, to communicate. But
Mhm.
um, the biggest advantage we have in is not that leaders make perfect decisions,
Mhm.
but it's leaders who listen. So first, yeah, so as in your example, leaders are senior leaders are
Mhm.
participating in the onboarding process, in the onboarding program, making sure that they convey the values of the to the new people. So sometimes the smartest insights come not from the not from the room where the board is sitting and
Yeah.
having their meetings, but from someone. And it's really the case in our case, in our company's case. It's coming from the people who are answering the phones, coordinating the schedules, or observing patient flow in real time. So these are the people who are closest to our customers, in our
Yeah.
case, patients. And then when leaders start paying attention in meetings, in email, in quick communication and conversations, performance naturally goes up. innovation speeds up. We experienced that our employee engagement rates were also increasing over time, and this, with the previous example with the M&A clinics, the ones those that were acquired, so their engagement levels were naturally lower, but in 2 or 3 or 4 years time it increased. So we say that we attribute this to the psychological safety and trust that they developed over time. So I can say this again. Psychological safety is not a well-being initiative. It's a business strategy.
Yeah. So I'm hearing leaders checking in at all levels, right? This generates usually
Yes.
a high trust, high shift. The visibility of leaders downstream, I guess, also.
Mhm.
So you need to show up, but then you also need to prove that you're listening. And I guess there's also the idea of like, okay, I've been there, I listened, and if there are any concerning points or if there are any opportunities from these dialogues we're having, for people to see the ideas implemented or the suggestions really considered, I think that's also quite interesting. Do you see anything specific to your business where it has improved in a way, both patient but of course employees, ways of doing things, because this feedback loop was tighter and tighter with the years? Of course, you're going every year through new changes and you kind of probably restart the process, but there must be a single thread of these are fundamental changes that 5 years ago we were not there, but now we are a little bit more solid.
Yeah, I think that naturally when we include all the levels of people in the, for example, town halls, strategic. Last week we had a strategy session for 2026, for example, and we included a lot of levels. Not it was not just the senior leaders participating in it or mid-level managers, but also people from the centers who are dealing with the, I don't know, schedules, patient flows. They're sitting next to the senior doctor, and this is, it quite tells a person that, okay, my voice matters,
Yeah.
my voice counts, and this is really, disarming for the people to just be there, to have ideas. So we encourage them to have ideas, but it's not, that we need to implement all the ideas. But the thing that we listen to them and we say that, okay, maybe next year we will implement it, maybe 2 years in a row, and so on. So I think that this loop of coming back and also, closing the loop, we're saying we're not doing it right now, not now, maybe later. So this follow-up builds confidence in a way. Yeah.
And committing somehow to a certain point in
Yeah.
time and
Yeah.
an idea about the roadmap. Very interesting. I'm actually thinking now because I've very little worked with Lithuanian people, and especially in Lithuania. I've had colleagues all over, but I'm curious if you were to describe the culture that you're in, especially around conflict management, especially around like discussing harder things. Because I'm just going to give you the context. We were discussing with a German kind of group around, hey, here in Germany we actually are very comfortable around conflict, and we expect it. We expect that you challenge, and nobody's really kind of not talking to each other after the exchange that could be heated. But other cultures, let's say more UK or even Latin American, the conflict avoidance is much bigger in a way, and things happen a bit more between the lines. How does it happen in your organization, and maybe also culturally? Maybe we can learn also a bit about that, because you're in it for a very long time. If you have any perspective on it, I know it's a bit of a curveball question, but I'm literally curious. Yeah.
Yeah, so culturally, I think that we are more like conformist. We obey the rules, but this is natural because it's coming from our history, from the past. I think that if you ask many of the companies in Lithuania, are you many of the employees in the Lithuanian companies and
Mhm.
international companies in Lithuania. So most of them would always get the employee engagement scores very high. We do
Mm.
not, but it's not because the companies are all great companies here,
Of course.
but I think what I experience, at least in international healthcare in Lithuania,
Mhm.
is that people would not say bad words about the employer first.
Mhm.
This is in our tradition that we are most likely to agree to at certain level
Mhm. Keep
because
a distance.
yeah, keep a
Mhm.
distance, and really this yeah. So generally, we would avoid the conflict in the working environment as well.
Mhm. Mhm. And then the conversation would happen more in smaller groups? Would it be more, smaller amounts of feedback? Like, I'm trying to understand because I see what you mean, and I've seen it in other cultures, specifically more in Asia, very, very specific, like in terms of this big surveys or big conversation with
Yeah.
many people in the same room. Nothing really bubbles critically up. But
Mhm.
in more
But
smaller conversations or people just leaving, like higher attrition rates that do not corroborate with the high NPS, right? Like you will
yeah,
have very high NPSs, but you will not really have, good levels of attrition. Would you?
yeah. So for me, as an HR of a large company, it's really important to make this
Mhm,
distinction and to really understand, are our ENPS, employee NPS
mhm,
scores
mhm,
or engagement scores, really that high because we are
mhm,
doing something good or
mhm,
not? But yeah, so if we're talking about Affidea, I think in Lithuania, I think that we are doing something very good because people are feeling, because we see it in other, not only on paper in the surveys,
mhm.
but we see it in other examples as well, that people are sharing their ideas and so on. Yeah, so
Okay.
I think that, yeah,
Yeah,
this
we
is
need to work
really
within the
important to
context.
understand.
Yeah.
Yes,
And I
exactly.
guess your company and you probably helped create this set of values that you function, right? You have your mission and your values. I'm curious for everybody who's coming here a little bit, like there must be one that you have a higher affinity towards, one that you're like, this is my favorite. Any particular one in your collection there?
So yeah, naturally we have values. We have three
Hmm.
values, and you already said it. It's affinity, because Affidea, the name of
Hmm.
Affidea comes from affinity.
I didn't know.
Well, it's yeah, yeah. So this is a nonsense word. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything like
Uh-huh.
Affidea, but it is constructed of our three values: affinity, fidelity, and idea. It's everything in one
Ah.
word.
Mhm.
So what I like the most is the affinity idea, I think, because this illustrates the relationship with
Mhm.
employees, with employees, also employees with our customers, our patients. So in Affidea, we say that the customer is not only our patient, but the customer is also our colleague. The
Mhm.
customer is also a referring doctor, somebody, a cleaner who is from the outsourced company.
Mhm.
So this really illustrates me, and I think that this affinity is the top that I like the
Mhm.
most.
Oh, and it makes me think of something because I think, yes, we talk about psychological safety, but ultimately what we want to see is how people feel that they belong in this space. And to your point of like everybody in the ecosystem somehow reaches, or that's the goal, that's the purpose, to feel that without them things won't work, right? No matter
Yeah,
who you are,
yeah,
where we are.
yes.
And there is a story, I think from the 70s or 80s, where yeah, from the actually late 60s, because the story was a janitor at NASA when they were trying to put like send people on the moon. Some journalist interviewed him, like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm helping putting the men on the moon, right?
On the
Although
moon.
it was
Yeah,
just
this is
cleaning,
classic.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
very, I think it does really speak to the idea of like we belong and we are pushing for the same purpose. And however we're doing it, that's where the safety appears, and that's where the recognition and the appreciation.
Yeah, exactly. And in the medical sector, in healthcare,
Mhm.
it is very easy to be motivated to work because you are
Mm.
working for the sake of the patients.
And you see
You
it.
are you are saying saving lives, and you can eventually, even if it's in administration. I don't have anything to do with the patients, but we feel it every single time in the meetings. Doctors are talking to about the serious cases. So you somehow people feel that they contribute, and this is what makes them happy
Mhm.
to work here and to relate to this end user, which is the patient. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. We are getting very closely to the end, Giedrė. So I just want to acknowledge also the fact that it is a high pressure environment. It is a fast moving environment that you're in. And usually, when we are pressed for time, we shortcut things. And maybe we're not necessarily always thinking, how can I make people around me feel included? How can I make people around me feel that they can trust whatever, the situation is, and be outspoken about their ideas, good or bad, or challenging or affirmative to what we're doing? So, kind of creating that space becomes a little bit more difficult when we are in time crunches. So to close off, I would love if you have any practical advice, or a practical behavior somehow that we can adopt as people in HR, people in leadership, that we can like generally do on a daily basis if we can, to either put ourselves in the mindset of I'm here for others, so the servant leadership type of attitude, to see how do we build that space, or help people through their problems. Anything that comes to mind in this particular context.
Well, I think that yeah, my advice is to not overcomplicate things.
Mm.
I think that literally starts every single meeting with asking people what's one concern or idea
Mm.
we should put on the table before we
Mm.
begin. It's fast, it's simple, and it creates an opening where people feel invited instead of evaluated. You
Mm.
don't need huge workshops, I think, to build psychological safety. You don't need to pay money for it. Sometimes you just need one consistent question.
I love that actually. Yes, I think this is really inspiring and, as you say, easy. It should be easy. It should be
it,
natural. It should be
it should
daily,
be,
right?
be natural. Please.
Nice. Yede, thank you so much for joining us today. If people want to reach out to you, talk more about this topic, talk more about your ultra marathons, and get any advice. So
As
everybody
well,
listening,
yes.
she's done 5 of these. I'm impressed. I'm jealous and impressed in the same time. But if people want to reach out and connect with you, where is best?
I think that you can look for me on
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn page. You can find me there. You can write me a message via LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, I think, the best how we can connect and communicate more.
Amazing. Any particular topics in general that you feel you can help the community more, or you would like the community to help you more with?
I think it was always employee engagement. I
Mhm.
started my bachelor's essay and diploma paper on employee engagement. I continued in my master's to develop, to explore the same topic, the same theme.
Mhm.
So it's always been, yeah, employee engagement and motivation as my, favorite topics.
Reach out to her about that.
Thank you.
Perfect. For everybody, we only have one last session next week. I need to update everybody on it. December 11, we're actually going to meet Sekura and Mariana, and her colleagues, and we're going to speak about a very specific case study around the benefits and the framework around benefits for their employees, which I found fascinating, and I'm very much looking forward to share with everybody. For the moment, we are grateful, both of us, for all of you who have joined or we are going to watch this in your own time because it will live on LinkedIn. Giedrė, I wish you a very, very nice end of the year and hopefully a lot of energy to start with in 2026.
Thank you. You too as well. Thanks, everybody.
Ciao, everyone. See you next week.